I think it's creating those habits, changing those habits. If we can change our habits, then we slowly change our lives. And so, I've said it before with you guys, but I journal daily.
Yeah.
I know that may sound a little odd.
No, it doesn't.
I do journal, and I write goals down, and I review them weekly and look at them, twice a day. Often I look at them twice a day, but I'm journaling my workouts every day. I'm journaling kind of a gratitude journal, what I'm grateful for every single day. But I think that's a habit that I have now been doing, I guess, since 2013. So, and that's if I miss a day, which I don't miss a day, but if I'm late in the day in doing it, it's on my to do, what I'm saying, kind of a front sight focus thing that I'm going to get done that day because it's important to me. And I think it keeps me on track, but it's a habit that I've created over time. And I think going back to the 40 pounds, I think that's great, but what little things can we change? What little goals, like micro goals and things can we put in place where we change our habits? I think that's the big thing is slowly, if you do something for 30 days straight, you've created a new habit. And that's something I try to work on. Hey, this is Matt Lawson, and you are listening to the Tom Rowland Podcast.
Hey, if you like hunting and fishing shows, Waypoint TV is the place. You can see them for free. You don't need cable. You don't need anything other than your phone, your tablet, your computer, waypointtv.com. You can go there, learn how to download the app on virtually any device, including your smart TV, and see all the best hunting and fishing shows, films, short films. You can also follow them on Instagram, waypointtv.fishing, waypointtv.boating, and check it out. You'll have a lot in store for you if you don't already have it. If you do, you know what I'm talking about. waypointtv.com. That's the place. Go there for free content. All right. Today is New Year's Eve, and I've invited a couple of my friends in to see me here. I've invited these two guys because they are in the book club. They are in my inner circle of people that I really look to and put a lot of confidence in. Everyone should have a group of people that they can talk to about their goals, the things they want to do, the things that are important to them, and help them get there in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's just that they hold you accountable. Maybe it's that they are some sort of a mentor. Maybe it's that they offer advice that you don't get other places. Maybe they are just simply the only people in your life that'll tell you how it is. They'll tell you when you're failing. They'll tell you when you're succeeding. They'll be happy for your success, and they will help you get back on track on the failures. So these two guys, Matt Lawson, Kyle Haren, they are part of a group that helps me do just those things. And if you don't have that group, I encourage you to find some people that you can surround yourself with that will be these people to you. They will be very supportive in your successes. They will be very supportive in your failures. They will help you celebrate the successes, and they will help you to get back on track when you fail. And both of those things are going to happen. So what I wanted to talk about today was New Year's resolutions and goal setting, because New Year's Eve, that's the time when a lot of people think about New Year's resolutions. What is it? How are you going to make next year different than this year? How are you going to change things? If that's what you want to do, how can you do better than what you did this year? How can you right some failures? I don't know. How can you lose 40 pounds? How can you get in better shape? How can you spend more time with your family? How can you make more money? How can you do whatever? This is the time that all of those things, happen. And it's in about a month that most of those New Year's resolutions are no longer resolutions and simply things that people once thought about. So what I wanted to do is invite two people in that I look to because they've had great success with resolutions, goals, doing things in their life that they stick with and change, and therefore are very successful in goal setting. So Kyle and Matt are joining me today, and Matt has been on the podcast once before. He did Seal Fit Kokoro. Matt Lawson, you can go back to one of our first episodes that I had with him. Kyle's new. Probably won't be the last time that either one of these guys are on the podcast. I really, really like them. I hope you will too. So stand by for a great conversation on goal setting, New Year's resolutions with my friends, Matt Lawson and Kyle Haren. So today's show is with two of my favorite people, two guys that I do a lot of training with, two guys that are part of the book club, two guys that have been part of different conversations that I've had myself with, if I'm going to set a goal and I want somebody to hold me accountable, or I want to talk through an issue. These two fellas are two people that I go to often, and I certainly encourage you to have your own group of people like that. But what I wanted to talk about today, because it is New Year's Eve, and we're sitting here on New Year's Eve talking about New Year's resolutions. And of all of my friends and people that I do business with, people that I know, you two guys have managed to probably not only set goals, but meet them and exceed them on a regular basis. So I want to talk about that. First of all, so just to introduce you, this is Kyle Haren. Kyle and I work out together. Matt Lawson, who's already been on the podcast one time before, that did Kokoro. These are the two guys that I'm sitting down with. So anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on New Year's resolutions?
Hey, I think they're good. I think it's probably should start it before New Year's, but I think it's always a good time to sit down. I think tonight with the family, my wife Megan mentioned yesterday about sitting down and trying to map something out, put some goals in front of us as a family for our daughter Vivi and our son Mac going into 2019. So I think it'll be good. I think that'll be time well spent tonight as a family. That's how
you choose to spend New Year's Eve is setting goals and talking about things like that?
That's going to be one of the things we do tonight, yes.
I thought you were going to say just drink whiskey all night long. And
it won't take us too long to set those goals. How's that?
Well, and what would that look like, goals like that?
That is a very good question. I think for our daughter and our son, as far as where they are in school, and Vivi's involved with basketball and cross country, and maybe some volleyball, and Mac, our son's doing baseball and basketball, and maybe flag football in the fall next year. But just from staying active, and then also from a grade standpoint, what type of goals they want to try to achieve in 2019. For Megan and I don't really know yet. I have some ideas, but nothing concrete.
Yeah, this is why Matt is such an inspiration to me, because he comes up with, when I think about goal setting and things like that, I always get some of my best material from Matt.
Yeah, me too.
Because I do, I'll use this time of year, the end of the year, beginning of the new year, to do some serious planning. And I do it, business planning, financial planning, personal planning, setting goals in each of those areas and writing things down. But one of the things I don't do is sit down with the family and do this. And I think that's just next level, because it's really team building, getting everybody on board, everybody going in the right direction, everybody pulling in the same direction. I have a good friend and work associate, David Howell, who does a family dream board. I think this is magic. He'll do a big whiteboard in the garage where the whole family gets to see it every day. And everybody in the family, he's got 3 kids, a wife and 3 kids, and they've all got a section of the dream board. And you put down 3 things that I want this year if money were no object.
I love that. And,
Is that something?
Megan and I have talked about that, a dream board. Again, I think what action speaks louder than words. We haven't followed through on it yet, but it's definitely something we've talked about putting together, have the kids put together for themselves where they want to be, kind of cut it out, put it on the board. I agree with you, Kyle.
It
I think that's a
expands
home
their
run.
thinking, right?
I agree. And they see it often.
Yeah.
In front of them all the time. I'm a big believer of that.
I'm huge into asking people what they're going to do different the next year, and challenging them on, why. Why is that important to you? What's your reward? Because one of the things I've been good at is setting goals, and one of the things I'm not great at is giving myself a reward for those goals. And there's such power in that. One of the quickest goals I was able to achieve was 2017. And in 2017, I said, if I can sell 10 new accounts, I'm going to join the country club. And this was something that was meaningful to me. I wanted to do it, and I wanted to have a reward for hitting the goal, of being productive. And by May, I had sold 10 new accounts.
Wow.
Because I wanted to do it so bad. I wanted to go and do it.
Okay, so let's look at that real quick. So there's a goal that you set out. You want 10 new accounts. So what is that? This is where I think a lot of people may get a little bit off track. To me, when I set a goal like that and accomplish it, I look at it in hindsight, and what I ended up doing was set that goal and then set a lot of little goals that would get me to that. Is that what you do, or do you just say, I want 10 new goals or 10 new accounts, and you already know how to get that, or do you break that down? I mean, I've done this before with big things and little things, to where it's like, maybe it's anything from losing weight to getting stronger to a financial goal or a business goal, to where you have a goal and then you break it down into, okay, well, if I'm going to get there by this date I should be here, by this date I should be here. And basically then you can break it down into, every day I should be taking these actions that get me closer to this goal.
I think you definitely can do that. Like in sales, I'm a small business owner, but basically I'm in sales. And so I know the activities that will yield production. But as far as when I set the goals, some of the goals are very results oriented. 10 new accounts, boom. X amount of revenue, boom. Whatever that is, those are just sheer results. Or I want to save X amount of dollars this year, or whatever it is. And other goals are effort goals or beginning goals. One of the best examples, I forget what year it was, but I just happened to have brought all my lists of goals throughout the years. But I think it was, 2011. One of my personal goals was consider CrossFit as a weekly habit. Okay, so that was the year I was about to turn 40. Or in 2011, I turned 40. And I just wanted to try it because all my friends, you were in it, Alan was doing it, Maury, and all these guys were talking to me about, it's the greatest thing. Oh, you'll love it so much. It's a good group of guys. And I was like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to at least consider doing it as a weekly habit. And that year, I participated 4 times a week beginning in March, and haven't really looked back. I'm going 3 to 4 times to your garage to work out.
Right.
Every week.
Wow. And
it began as a thought to consider. And so sometimes it's not a result, it's just a beginning.
There's power in that. I think that's another place where people get off track, and I know that I have personally, is you set a goal that is so big, and so big could be, okay, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. For somebody that doesn't work out or has let their health go way off track, it could be, okay, I'm going to save $10,000 this year for somebody that is not disciplined financially. Or it could be, I'm going to sell 10 new accounts, whatever. It could be that 10 accounts for another person could be 1,000 new accounts, right? A goal that just seems so outrageous that people never take action on it. And I think that, like what you did there with that, consider doing CrossFit, weekly. It takes all the pressure off.
Oh yeah.
Of you,
Well, I didn't know if I would like it.
Right.
I didn't know if my body could handle it. I didn't know any of those things.
But you were committed to taking a step towards determining whether you would like it, whether that's something that you would want to do further, rather than I'm going to do this regardless. So what if you get in there and you don't like it? Your real goal, or maybe that was your real goal, is just, I want to get in better shape, right? I want to get stronger. I want to maintain my flexibility, my mobility. This could be a potential route towards that, right?
Now, what do you guys think about, I hear people all the time. I was talking to a guy this morning. He said, I want to lose 40 pounds this year. I've heard people, different takes. Sometimes those numeric goals are just kind of nebulous. They're out there and they're intangible.
Sure.
But sometimes people say, I want to get into my high school jeans or whatever.
I think it's creating those habits, changing those habits. If we can change our habits, then we slowly change our lives. And so, I've said it before with you guys, but I journal daily.
Yeah.
I know that may sound a little odd.
No, it
but
doesn't.
I do journal, and I write goals down, and I review them weekly and look at them, twice a day. And often I look at them twice a day, but I'm journaling my workouts every day. I'm journaling kind of a gratitude journal, what I'm grateful for every single day. But I think that's a habit that I have now been doing, I guess, since 2013. So, and that's, if I miss a day, which I don't miss a day, but if I'm late in the day in doing it, it's on my to do. What I'm saying? It's kind of a front sight focus thing that I'm going to get done that day because it's important to me. And I think it keeps me on track, but it's a habit that I've created over time. And I think going back to the 40 pounds, I think that's great. But what little things can we change? What little goals, like micro goals and things, can we put in place where we change our habits? I think that's the big thing, is slowly, if you do something for 30 days straight, you've created a new habit. And that's something I try to work on.
Talk about the 1% improvement.
Well,
is that still a thing?
Well, I try to do that, but that's kind of a Brad McLeod with Seal Grinder PT on improve 1% better every day, and so
in something
like reading.
That's what kind of makes that possible. Is if it's I want to improve 1% in my deadlift. Well, you probably can today, and then you might be able to tomorrow, and you might be able to next week, but 50 weeks down the road, you may not be able to put 50% on your deadlift if you're already a very well-trained athlete. Say you can already deadlift 400 pounds. So to say that you're going to put another 200 pounds on it, it's possible. But what Brad is talking about a lot of times is improve yourself in any area 1% daily, right? So that, to me, like when I start thinking of it like that, is it's like, okay, well, I may be able to make that improvement physically, or I may be able to read a book that gives me 1% more knowledge towards business or towards relationships or towards something. Or it may be that maybe I learn a foreign language and you're getting 1% better every day, right? That's easy because at the point where you know nothing, a 50% improvement over knowing nothing is very easy to get. When you're a super trained athlete and you're trying to put, 50% on an already lifetime PR,
sure,
it's very, very difficult. But what I like about that Seal Grinder PT, Brad McLeod 1% is it gives you the freedom to go in any direction. And then you're in constant learning and you're in constant accomplishment mode to where you're like, okay, I did that.
Okay, the mode part is so key. For those of you not in this room, Tom's wearing a T-shirt that says "Mindset is everything," and so
that's right, baby. It is.
That's a total mindset deal, right? If I want to improve 1% in everything, or in one thing, or in anything, I mean, you're just constantly, how do I get better? How do I get better? I talked about how Matt inspires me. I started the gratitude journal recently because of he was sharing this with me, and I was walking through Big Lots in November, and I saw this thing. It was like a $4 notebook, hardbound, and the front of it says "Feeling Blessed," and so It just happened to be right around, Thanksgiving time. So I picked this thing up and I said, I'm going to start the gratitude journal in 2019. Well, I actually started it that week, and I go about every 3 days and I'll journal in it. So I'm making progress towards that.
You're creating a habit.
Yeah, but they're there's several entries in here, 10 or 15 entries already. And it puts you in this mindset of, okay, I know I'm going to have to write about this. What can I be grateful for today? What blessing will I miss if I don't write it down? And it's an awareness of, man, how God has blessed me, or man, I feel so fortunate to have lucked into whatever, or whatever it is. But it just gets you in this gratitude
on a
mindset.
different level. And I think that, in my opinion, the more grateful we are of the things that we already have, even the smaller things that we have that we take for granted, it seems like we attract more of those into our lives as we recognize, what we do have. And so, which we have a lot. I mean, we have a tremendous amount, all of us do, in a lot of different ways, from mobility to, our health, our mental health, our families. I mean, you look around and it's, we're very, very blessed. And so I struggle when I hear people complaining, even myself. I try to, hopefully I'm mindful enough to stop on the complaining. And I try to catch myself on that, because we have way too much to be grateful for and stuff like that.
So
and go back to habits.
You've been doing the gratitude journal since 2011? 13. And so what do you think that has done for you?
I think it's increased my awareness, just my overall awareness on a daily basis, a little bit more grounded, open, and just more appreciative.
Right.
From
and so
A to Z.
In starting that habit, because I'll have you both know, Kyle told me that he started this a while back, and I gratitude is huge for me, and we do our gratitude exercise, at the end of some workouts, but not every workout.
Sure.
So when Kyle told me about that he was incorporating this, I went home and I talked to Cynthia, and I was like, you know what? Here's a good idea for us for next year. Why don't we each keep a gratitude journal and hold each other accountable for writing in it? And she's like, okay, well, how much do I have to write? And I said, there's no maximum or minimum amount. You can write one word, but what I want to do is write it every single day, right? Like, I want this to become a habit of journaling, and I want to be very careful, like your goal of considering CrossFit. I want to make a daily entry in the gratitude journal, and I want to do it together with Cynthia. And I just find that on the days that we start the day with the gratitude exercise, I feel better all day long.
I totally
Absolutely
agree.
Better.
Totally agree.
And so I want to bring in the gratitude journal, because I also feel like it is a way of creating a habit that I would like to journal more, like you're journaling. I would like to do that more. I haven't been very good at it.
But you do the whiteboard stuff, though, right? You do the beyond the whiteboard or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I journal the workouts, and I have a blog type thing that I do, and I put those on there.
Yeah,
but it's it's one thing if you're sharing that with the world, and it's another thing when you decide that that's just for you and your wife.
That's great, though, Tom.
Yeah,
I mean, that's super. I think I'd love for Megan and I to have a gratitude journal back, and and we've talked about it, and she's open to something like that. But I pulled my the format I use on my journaling is from SEALFIT. So Mark Devine, it's got a five questions in a sense, and it's about your purpose. And so how are you moving the dial closer to your purpose-driven goals on a daily basis? And then I'm grateful for X, and I'm looking forward to this, and so forth. And so that's kind of the format I follow on a daily basis on that. So I do the gratitude, of course, what I'm grateful for, and then move on to what my purpose is, and what am I doing every day to move to move closer to my purpose. And so I enjoy it. I mean, it's good.
Do you find yourself, I would think that when you have that habit, and you have the habit of possibly going back and looking back over the week or the month or whatever, or maybe even over the whole last year, where you all have all that written down and you can go back and look through some of the goals and some of the things that you've written down. Does that tend to, I would think that when you have that habit, and this is one of the reasons why I want to bring in the journaling more into my own life, because I think that when you have that habit, you are quicker to see that you are slightly off track.
Oh, there's no doubt. It helps center me. There is no doubt. And hopefully I am better because of it. And I think I am. And, but it definitely helps center me and brings me back every morning after my workout. I journal 90% of the time, unless something's coming up and I take it to work with me. I journal at work. So, and of course, I believe in meditation too, but, at least 8 minutes or 10 minutes a day or something like that.
What does that look like?
Mine is pretty much just whether it's sitting down and just relaxing and breathing, or even lying down on the floor, something comfortable. But,
okay, so how do you get clear in those moments?
I don't. Sometimes I don't, and it's not that it has to be perfect. It's just something that's again a habit that I just try to focus on my breath and relax. And you're going to have all those crazy thoughts and stuff like that going around. It's just I try not to attach myself to those thoughts and just kind of let them go and just relax and breathe and focus more and more on my breathing.
So what do you think a daily meditation practice and what you're talking about is not? So first of all, if you're not in this room and you're not watching this video, Matt is an investment.
We have a wealth management firm, Bill Winchester and myself. We own Lawson Winchester.
It's not like you are a California,
no,
kind of long-haired dude that believes in the woo-woo.
No. He's
and
a very
against
buttoned up
California, but yeah, he's super buttoned up. But I think it's interesting to point that out that many professionals are embracing the meditation, but I just want to know what it means, what it does for you.
I think focus. I think again, centers, focus, relaxation, calm. I really enjoy it, and I'll go through periods where I miss 2 or 3 days in a row on the meditation side, and have to come back, and just start all over. But and sometimes, some days or some weeks, I'll meditate every single day. So, but I enjoy it. And I used to kind of struggle with sitting and having to sit for 10 minutes. That was a challenge, just focusing on your breath for 10 minutes was like, that was tough. But now it's a lot easier to do.
You do it after journaling?
No, sometimes I do it, but oftentimes I do it before the journal. After the workouts, before the journal, I'll do a 8 or 10 minute.
Are you sitting in the easy chair?
Sometimes I'll just lie down. I lie down. It's just easier.
Fall asleep?
I have, yes, absolutely. I have.
I do.
Yeah.
That's why I can't fall asleep. That's why I also have to be very careful about the meditation. And that's why I also think that the Wim Hof breathing has become my means of meditation, because you hear about meditation and all this. What does that really mean? I think to me, it means that you have a moment in your day to where you put your phone down. You are not even talking to another human being. You are focusing inward, and sometimes some really amazing things happen. Sometimes you come out of that small, tiny period in relation to the rest of your day. This is a tiny period of time.
Sure.
So if you focus inward for 10 minutes, sometimes all you think about is what you're going to eat for lunch. Other times, really miraculous things happen, and there might be a problem that you're trying to solve, or there might be, an issue or a question that you have, and you come out of that, and sometimes it is like, boom, right there, I've got the answer. Other times it's like maybe it's a little bit prolonged. Maybe it doesn't happen immediately, but sometime during that day, you're like, you know what? I think this is all going to be all right. Or I think this is what I need to do. I need to make that call that I was thinking about avoiding, or I need to do this thing that I need to do, or not do it, or whatever. But it seems like the daily meditation, just like the daily training, just like the daily work, is that it trains you to better respond at times of great, chaos?
Yeah. Again, I've learned to stop resisting while I'm just trying to clear my mind and stuff. And so that's been a big plus. And not trying to, in a sense, trying to clear the mind. And that will happen, but just to stop trying to fight the chatter, and then it subsides and goes away when you stop resisting, and you're not attaching yourself to any one thought or a series of thoughts.
So when you talk about it like that, like what I'm talking about is that the more time you can spend resisting attachment to that chatter, or to just observing it, or to actually clearing your mind, then when it comes into the place in your day where it's most important, in my mind, that's when you're dealing with your children, because that's the time when you really don't want to say something that you're going to regret. You don't want your emotions to get you to a place that you do something that is not productive.
I agree.
Right?
I totally agree.
So it's at that point that I feel like the daily meditation and this spending this time there, you can all of a sudden go, oh, I'm getting really worked up here. There's really not a need to get worked up here, or I'm getting really worked up here. I'm going to really need to watch what I say right now. And I feel like when you're not meditating or spending a little, you call it what you want. I mean, a lot of people will say, I'm not going to be into meditating. That's fine. Whatever. Quiet time. Call it time just by yourself, just thinking time, whatever you want to call it. The more time that you're spending there, the quicker that you can catch yourself reacting emotionally. I totally agree. Possibly making a giant mistake just because you opened your big fat mouth.
Your awareness is
absolutely,
your antenna is up for those things.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not saying that I've perfected it, because I have a long way to go.
Well,
long way to go on all that.
I don't know that you can perfect it.
You can't, but I mean, it has helped me. I have seen positive outcomes from doing it, but I still have a long way to go. Yeah, which is part of every process. It's a journey.
What about visualization? Do you guys do any visualizations?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in visualization and stuff. I mean,
like, I love that dream board idea that you were talking about, Kyle. And there was a time that I spent more time with a dream board. And if you don't know what a dream board is, basically just a piece of poster board. You look through a magazine or whatever. You're like, I like that car. Man, I would really like to have that. And you put that picture of that car on there. Maybe it's a picture of a house. Maybe it's a picture of a beach on a vacation that you'd like to take with your family. Whatever it is, you have these ideas. You somehow find some type of visual cue, and you put it on this board. And a lot of times, it's a board that it could be in your closet, so nobody sees it ever except for you when you open the door and there's your dream board. And it's just some sort of visual cue, I think, that keeps you a little bit more on track for your goals. So like when we're talking about New Year's resolutions and goals and such like that, a dream board can be a very effective way to keep you motivated towards that. Because if your goal or your New Year's resolution or your goal or whatever you want to call it is, I'd like to take my family on a Caribbean trip, or I'd like to take them to Key West. I'd like to take them to Hawks Cay. I'd like to take them wherever you want to go. A picture of that in a place where you can see it all the time can be very, very, very effective.
Yeah, I think
one of the best that I've ever heard is actually from Kyle, real world, in regards to, Kyle played football at University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And as far as
go Vols,
absolutely. As I won't steal this from you at all, but or tell it. You tell it better than I can or ever could. But as far as you carrying that playlist around about the roster,
right,
and about visualizing yourself on that roster in high school.
Yeah, I went to a UT game when I was a sophomore in high school and watched UT play, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be great to do this one day? And I saw a guy, Mike Kelly, who was from Red Bank, looked like me, just a white kid, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he was on the program because I remember looking up who are their linebackers. You know, if I was going to do this, I'd probably have to play linebacker because I'm never going to be a defensive tackle, you know, or a defensive end. So I start looking at the roster and I see all these guys. One's from Dale Jones was from Cleveland, Tennessee. Mike Kelly was from, you know, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And Nate Middlebrooks was a tight end from Chattanooga, went to Howard. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, these are guys that live where I live. Maybe I could do this. And so I took that roster and I kept it by the toilet for like 2 years. And then for 2 years, for another year, I carried it in my pocket. I actually tore it out of the book and I kept it in my pocket. And I began to visualize my name on that roster. And so I didn't write my name on the roster, but I saw it in my mind and I would rehearse it every day.
What number were you?
Well, I was Dale Jones' number because he was my hero and he was 54. But by the time I got to UTK, I ended up with number 60 because that was the only number they had left. And they gave it to the guy who just wanted to be there. So anyway, awesome. But long story, 5 years later, I was doing what my dream was. And I was doing it. I was 20. I think I was a redshirt sophomore and I made the travel team. I was doing special teams and stuff like that. But what occurred to me is years later, because after my sophomore year, I felt like, you know what? I've kind of done it. I've kind of done all I'm going to do. And I quit the team. And so I don't tell this part of the story a lot, but I didn't have a second tier goal. I didn't have visualized, hey, maybe I could be a starter on defense instead of a kickoff guy, you know, or a kickoff return or a occasional punt team person. You know, I was playing 8 or 10 plays a game. Why wasn't I a 60 play a game guy? You know, well, I wasn't super talented, but
you achieved what you had wanted to achieve.
It was like I checked it off the list and I didn't have a plan for that next level. And I'm not saying I would have been a superstar, but I just wonder sometimes, and it's not a regret because I'm where I'm supposed to be. I mean, a lot of cool things happened immediately after I quit the football team, but it's like, what if I'd have had a next vision? You know, instead of, okay, I'm here, I'm doing, okay, what is next? What's the next level? Is it, you know, maybe learn enough where I could be a coach one day? Maybe I get so involved in that side of it that, you know, I'll be a SEC defensive coordinator one day. I mean, that's not out. I mean, for a 20-year-old kid who's in that program, you know, great experience. But I believe very much in visualization, not just big picture down the road stuff, but the here and now. I was reading this book called The Mindful Athlete, and it was written by this guy. You got that?
Yeah.
It was written by the guy who's the basketball coach, Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson used this guy in the Jordan era Bulls and the Kobe era Lakers. He would bring him in and he would sit down with this pro basketball team and just have them meditate, have them visualize, have them just kind of check out.
Yeah.
During working hours. You know, and they would practice this mindfulness technique.
So they would kind of play the game already in their head, the game they wanted to play and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. So I was in this, I was in this pickup game of basketball. Like every week I was going to this gym downtown. I still do it. Like on a, you know, Tuesday morning at 6:30, we go play basketball. And I thought, you know, sometimes I get in there and I'm just a spaz. I'm just running the floor like crazy. I'm throwing up bricks. Layups aren't going in. And sometimes I am just stroking the ball and everything's going down. And what is the difference? And sometimes the game seems really fast and harried, you know, kind of thing. And you get to the rim and you brick it off, you know. And other times everything's like in slow-mo, but you're moving. You know, you're going fast, you're jumping high, but it's just slow. And it just seems effortless. And I thought, maybe my mindfulness isn't where it needs to be. And not that this even matters, but I just kind of spent 5 minutes before I walked out the door and I just thought, I'm going to be slow at the rim today. Not physically, but mentally. Yeah. I'm going to see it and I'm going to execute. And when I'm making a shot, I am focused. And man, I played like like above my level that day. It was still bad for any level, but I mean, it was, it was above my level. And it was just like taking 5 minutes to see how I really wanted to execute.
Well, that's worked really well for Phil Jackson. I don't think anyone could debate how successful he's been.
10 championships.
There's so many examples of visualization. One that comes to mind right away is the story about Michael Phelps when he dove in and his goggles are leaking, and his goggles fill up with water.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
And so he's so practiced. I mean, he's the best swimmer in the world, but maybe the best swimmer in history. So it's no mystery how he goes down the pool perfectly straight and probably closed his eyes, you know, and just did it. Knows exactly how many strokes he's supposed to take. The whole works. He's got everything down. But there's still, when you're at that level, you're talking about hundreds of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And could it take 100th of a second for him to blink his eyes and go, oh no, my goggles have leaked? And then swim the best race of his life, but he still lost because of that one tiny hesitation. But he didn't. He dove in, did everything right to plan, finished, and the sportscaster says, hey, I understand that your goggles were leaking. How did you do this? How did you win the race? And he said something, and I may be butchering this, but basically to the point of this conversation, he said, well, I've already won that race 100 times over. Basically, that he had visualized and nothing was going to stop him. Not his goggles leaking, not anything else. It also comes into common knowledge later that his coach would routinely, I don't know, maybe this is an urban legend, but his coach would routinely make him swim with full goggles because that's something that could happen, right? I mean, that's like probably 30% of the time that could happen.
Wow.
So anyway, I mean, of course, he's the best that there's ever been. But the point being is that it didn't surprise him one bit that he won that race because he had visualized it over and over and over again in his mind. And basically every night before he went to bed, he would visualize this race. And so he has done that so many times. And there's lots of other studies and different stories from athletes that just continue to talk about that the more you visualize yourself doing it, the less surprised you are when it actually happens because you've already done it 100 times.
That's right.
Or 1,000 times or 10,000 times. And the visualization, I believe very, very strongly in it. And I think I've already told this story on the podcast before, but the most obvious way that this happened is one time, just like your list, where you put that list in your pocket. I'm sitting on the floor with, I think Turner and Hayden are there, babies, and I'm watching ESPN, and that's when the fishing shows would come on. And so I'm watching, and the fishing shows are coming on, and then Tommy Sanders, who's the host of ESPN Outdoors, he says, okay, next we're going to go down to Key West and fish with my good friend Jose Wahebe and for tarpon or something like that. And I sat there and I watched it and I was like, man, how cool is that? Like Tommy Sanders just said he's going to go and they're going to go down there and they're going to fish with Jose Wahebe. And I sat there and I said, he's going to say that about me one day. And it was a year later, almost to the day, that between that time when I said that, then the Great Outdoor Games happened, and then I was on a bunch of those ESPN shows. And I didn't know Tommy Sanders. I had never met Tommy Sanders. Or maybe I had at the Great Outdoor Games, but he wasn't what I would call a friend. And he, almost a year to the day that I had said, I want him to say that about me one time, and I want them to say, we're going to go down there with my good friend Tom Rowland, we're going to fish for tarpon in the Florida Keys. And it happened. It absolutely happened.
Wow.
On a show called Fly Fishing America.
That is awesome.
And that was just so profound to me. Like, wow, you can make things happen with your mind.
People talk about that a lot, manifesting or speaking it into the universe. Yeah. And it always sounds really hokey, but I mean, there's such power in that.
I don't know, man.
It happens.
It sounds hokey, but I've heard it 1,000 times over from people like you, from elite athletes, from regular individuals that just wanted to make this sale, from, somebody that said, countless times when you have somebody on the boat and they catch the fish of a lifetime for them. Maybe it's a permit on fly or a tarpon or something that they've thought about. And they said, it's exactly how I thought it was going to happen.
Well, flip it. I mean, on your shirt, and as far as mindset is everything, flip that on the other side where you come across people and all they talk about is negativity, worry, anxiety. And they seem to attract that. They seem to attract that.
And they seem miserable.
And they're always in that perpetual cycle of those events.
Mm-hmm.
So if you flip that on the other side, on the positive side, on the positive visualizations, doesn't mean that you're head in the sand and just skipping around, but you speak something else into existence and it manifests. I think that's a game changer.
I think it's like you're on a train track, right? If you're just out there and you have no goals, no aspirations, you're not doing anything to set something as your focus. You don't have a roadmap. You don't have anything. You're just drifting aimlessly. But if you set something, I don't care what it is, you want to make the 10 sales, you want to have this vacation in Key West, you want to win this tournament, you want to have a certain handicap. As soon as you set that, it's like you're on a train track.
You're in motion.
Right? You are in motion, and everything that you're doing, both consciously and subconsciously, is somehow pushing you to that, if everything's lined up right.
And you could speak to this, the things that come into your life that help you along the way to accomplish that goal, that when you first started that process, you had no earthly idea.
Yeah, but think about this, man. If you didn't set that goal,
it wouldn't happen.
These things are coming into your life.
You just wouldn't recognize
You're
them.
not recognizing them.
For what they are.
Okay.
That's exactly correct.
You're not seeing them for what they are.
I believe, have you ever decided that you want a new car, and then you go out and everywhere you look, there's that car. I want a brand new F-150 black. And everywhere you go, oh, there's a black F-150. There's a black F-150. Look, there's one turning this way. Oh, there's one coming this way. Here's one passing me. They're everywhere. But until you set that, you didn't notice them.
I never thought about that.
You just didn't notice them. It wasn't that they weren't there. It's not like...
So it's not like you're attracting out of thin air. It's all around you.
I think it's all around you all the time, and you all of a sudden recognize it. Now, it's nice to go and, think that you've spoken this into existence and all of that. But I think what's happening is you've just become more aware of what it is that you want. And, some people would say the universe is sending you all these things. Whatever, man. There's plenty of opportunity out there. And all of a sudden you drive by and you see a brand new F-150 on the side of the road, that's $30,000 less than the dealership's offering it. And you're like, that's exactly how much money I have in my bank account. And you buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did the universe send you that? Or were you just more perceptually aware of what's going on and had a goal of where you wanted to be or something that you wanted, and you're just noticing these opportunities, and you're noticing these things as opportunities rather than as just another car that's in your way.
But you're taking action though too,
right,
along the way. You're taking action all the way.
Well, you've married the action to the vision, right? You've got this overarching vision. For me, it was a 5-year vision to make it onto that field or whatever it is. So you've got this goal that you can see, feel, taste, and you're rehearsing it. And so as things come into your life, you're able to discern and kind of shove the things to the side that don't align with that purpose, with that vision.
Right. Don't align with it.
Right.
And the things that do align with it. And then you organize your life so that your life is aligned with your goal. And if you don't write your goal down, if you don't journal, if you don't have a dream board, if you don't have a group of people like we have here that are holding you accountable and not necessarily telling you what you want to hear, they're telling you how it is. Like, dude, look, you said you wanted this goal and you're out partying all the time. That's not how you're going to get there. Well, takes a special friend to be able to tell you that. And a lot of people don't surround themselves with people like that. A lot of people surround themselves with people that are like, oh man, it's good. You'll get there.
That's right.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Just, because maybe if it's that kind of person, maybe they don't even want you to get there. Like, has it been the craziest thing to surround yourself with people that don't actually want to see you accomplish your goals? That's why I think it's really super important, and probably the most important thing about goals, about aligning yourself with something, is that you surround yourself with people that are supportive of what you want, not
Absolutely.
judgmental about that goal, not whatever. It's like, look, you've said you want this. We've talked about lots of ways that you're going to get there, and I see that you're going in a different direction.
That's right.
And if you want my help, I'm going to tell you you're not doing it right. And that's hard to tell somebody. It's hard to hear.
You know what's crazy also is when you find people in your life that are feeding you the negativity or coming against the things you want, and you recognize that person as someone who's an antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you have to eliminate them from your life altogether, because it may be a relative.
Often.
And think about that. You hear about people that are caught in poverty. People are basically pulling them down so they won't leave them. They won't leave them.
That's right.
And
That's right.
these negative. So how do you,
small doses, you minimize them.
yeah.
Well, that's true. But there is that where people are purposely pulling you down because they do not want to see you succeed and leave them, or succeed and do whatever you're going to do. But then there's the other of people that love you so much that they don't want to see you get hurt. And this goal that you've set is so audacious and far out there that they just see that,
you're just going to fail and hurt yourself.
Well, you might, but God, it just seems like if you just played it a little safer. So which is the worst? Which of those two things is worse? Like, is it worse that somebody is absolutely doing everything in a malicious way to stop you from getting your goal? Or is it that this person that you respect their opinion so much is just kind of giving you the...
I would think that would be the more insidious, because you don't notice it happening, maybe.
Yeah, but also the person that's doing it doesn't notice it either.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And it's coming from a good place,
That's
maybe.
right.
It can be coming from a good place, but it can often be the thing that steers people off track the most. Is that your mom said this, or your dad said this, or your grandfather said this, or your girlfriend said this. And they say it from a place of love, and they don't want to see you get hurt. But they think you're going to get hurt because they don't know anything about what you...
They don't know any better.
Well, yeah. But they also don't know about your goal.
That's right.
But you know what? A lot of times you don't know about your goal. Like, it's not important to know about your goal. It's not important to know how you're going to get there. What's important is that you have a why for what you want to do. Like, why do you want to get there? And if that is important enough, a good why will overcome anyhow. That's what SEALFIT says. And that's true. It's absolutely true. So that's all very interesting. So I want to know what you guys think about how all of this stuff that we're talking about, because I think we kind of jumped over what this day is for so many people, and that is, I want to make a change, and I'm going to do X, and I'm going to call it a New Year's resolution because it's a new year, the slate's getting wiped clean, and I'm going to start tomorrow, and I'm going to lose 40 pounds, or I'm going to start tomorrow, and I'm going to make 10 sales. I'm going to start tomorrow, and I'm going to do this. Now, I have mixed feelings on that because, in my opinion, first of all, that's awesome if you want to do that. You're exactly right that that this is a new year and the slate is wiped clean to a point. But you've spent 40 years or 50 years or 60 years or 20 years or whatever it is developing the habits that have gotten you to wherever you are right now. So I think it just has to be a little bit deeper, in my opinion, of instead of making just a New Year's resolution, that you take maybe a day, and a New Year's resolution or a goal does not have to come on January 1st at all, in my opinion. But if you just take a day or two and do something, maybe you go camping, maybe you take a long hike, maybe you go out on the boat, maybe you do something where you can spend some time by yourself, and you look back on the year or your life and you say, okay, this is where I failed. This is where I've succeeded. This is what I want. And I want to change the direction of my life. And maybe it's just an eighth of a degree trajectory, right?
It's big.
To get you to go where you want to go. But I think that period of retrospection is super important to see not only where you've been successful, but also where you failed and why did you fail. And some people are like, man, it's just easier just to say I'm just going to go work out 5 days a week. Well, maybe it is, but that doesn't mean it's going to get you to your goal or that you necessarily even know what the goal is. But I think that having a period of retrospection and then determining what it is that you actually want is probably more powerful towards actually getting you there than just setting a goal saying, this is where I want to go.
No, I totally agree. Writing that goal down is a big step too.
Huge.
And speaking to that goal and thinking of that goal and then taking action and backing it up.
What did you say? Speaking,
talking about it aloud from an accountability standpoint, and then taking action on a daily basis. What are we doing to move that needle or move myself closer to that goal? Like you were just talking about, moving all this stuff out of the way when you have that goal of making the football team at UT Knoxville. Everything else kind of falls by the wayside.
So what about language? I mean, the speaking part.
So important.
I think it is.
And what's crazy, you read these Bible stories from the Old Testament, and remember the Jacob and Esau story where Esau comes in after Jacob's stolen his birthright, and he says to Isaac, well, just give me a blessing. And he goes, I can't. It's already gone. I can give you a lesser blessing, but the main blessing's already been given. He believed so much that the language he used, he had spoken it. It was released, and there was nothing he could do to get it back. And now we say things like, man, I'm such a loser because, or I'm so fat because.
I think that's so dangerous.
I mean, we don't believe in the power of language like we used to. And there must have been something to it. I mean, because this went on for centuries, and then all of a sudden we just throw words around like they don't matter. And we'll say things to somebody like, that guy's such a douche or whatever. And we're speaking this out there.
And oftentimes we're harder on ourselves than we are others.
Yeah.
It's amazing if we treated other people the way we treat ourselves and the way we talk about ourselves. It's horrible.
And we hurt
and
the
then
ones
you wonder why
that
you're
are
not
closest.
going forward.
Yeah.
Right.
And the closest ones to us will say the most rotten things too.
Absolutely.
Hey, because you know what? I know that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're close. I can say that. Well, I'm just tearing him down, or I'm speaking over him some kind of, gypsy curse or something. Why would we do that?
But a gypsy curse, if you want to call it that, you put on yourself with your own language. And my kids, dude, they just have heard this all their life. As soon as they say, well, I can't, I'm like, no, we don't say that. There's nothing that you can't do. And my feeling about that, and what I've always told them is, I'm like, look, as soon as you say I can't, you shut off all creative thinking about how could you possibly do that, right? Like
Agreed.
As soon as you say I can't to anything, your brain just goes, can't. Oh, it's like flipping a switch.
That's right.
It's off.
Shut down.
If you say, well, I don't think I can do that right now. Okay. That's a whole different deal, right? Because now you still have the possibility that sometime in the future, you may be able to do that. You might need to learn something. You might need to get stronger. You might need to mature a little bit. Technology might need to advance. But as soon as you say, I can't fly, then you've shut off all creative thought to how you might be able to fly. Anything can be done.
Absolutely.
Anything can be done, but the moment that you say it can't be done, or that you accept that it can't be done, it's over.
That's
and
right.
I'm talking about anything. Elon Musk, somebody says you can't colonize Mars. Well, if he just said, well, you're right, you can't colonize Mars, I don't think he has can't in his vocabulary.
No.
I don't think a lot of successful people have.
I used to work with a guy who had a great way of turning creativity back on, because he would ask me a question, and I would say, I don't know. And he'd say, what if you did know? And it was just a way to say the question again to get me thinking, well, I guess if I did know, I would, and then you would,
Right. Same
what
kind of
if you
thing.
did know?
Same kind of thing when you're talking about business ideas and you're saying, okay, what would you do to accomplish this goal if money was no object? If that was not a consideration, what would you do? And then oftentimes you're like, well, I'd do this and this and this. And then you look at it and you're like, well, that doesn't even cost that much money.
That's right.
Well, so why don't you do those things? And you could afford that. Like there's money in the budget for that. Okay, well, you just simplified it.
Are either of you guys working on a radical goal for the year? Something that is going to change the way you work, the way you think about life, the way you operate? Is there anything like that?
I think one goal that I have for 19 is 50 books. I don't know how radical that is, but just 50 books in 19, which is a
book a week.
Yeah, roughly a book a week. Yeah, which is a big for me, it's a big undertaking. So it's kind of radical, and hopefully the things that I learn from those books will be beneficial. Who knows? Maybe not.
I've got a couple. One of which was the gratitude journal.
Okay,
that's something I've already started. We talked about that. Another one. Tell me what you think about this. This seems radical to me, and it kind of came out of an epiphany about a month or so ago, where I was in a place I didn't want to be, but I felt like I had to be there because I felt some guilt about being there. It was like, kind of one of these family things where you kind of go, And I remember sitting, just having this epiphany, like, I don't want to be here. Why did I say yes to this? And I physically got up and left. And I didn't say like, hey, I'm out of here. You people are a bunch of losers. I just got up and left. And I went and did something that I really wanted to do. So out of that moment, that epiphany moment, I said, in 2019, I'm going to act in freedom.
That's pretty courageous.
Meaning, I'm going to do things that I want to do. And maybe I want to do it for someone else. It's not all going to be self-centered, looking out for number one. But I'm thinking, if I can act in alignment with my goals, dreams, objectives, my overarching vision, my purpose in life, I'm going to live each moment in absolute freedom so that I'm doing exactly what I want to do at that moment, either for me or for someone else, but my motivation is pure. I want to do this because it's the right thing to do.
You're not doing it out of guilt or shame.
And so I've been thinking about this for over a month now, and I think this is kind of the way I've raised my children, because when they ask me and they say, well, Matt's parents let him go to this, it's an automatic no. It was always an automatic no, because there's an entitlement to that. There's an expectation. There's a guilt feeling. And so I've always just shut that out. 100% you'll never get a result out of me that way. And I began to tell my children, I listen to WIFM. What's in it for me? You've got to learn to communicate to me that helps me achieve what I want to achieve so that you can get what you want. It's just good communication, right? I mean, in sales, that's what we do every day. You help enough people get what they want, you get what you want, right? Zig Ziglar said that a million times. And so all that going back, but if I can be exactly where I want to be, doing exactly what I want to be doing every moment, what's a fuller life than that?
I think that, I don't know, did you read the book that we read? It was in the book club, Living with Monks, Jesse Itzler.
No,
I read his seal book, 30 Days with a Seal.
So one, the physical or the way he describes it and the way I've seen him describe it, I really like him I just really like him for a lot of reasons. One being that he is almost exactly our age. He just turned 50 this year, so he's going through a lot of different things that I am as a 50-year-old. And he's got two books. One, Living with Seal, which is when he invited David Goggins to come and live in his house.
I read that one.
God bless him.
And he calls that the physical one. And then he has Living with Monks, which is a mental one or a spiritual one. And, the work with David Goggins was to get mentally tough through your physical work and everything. And it obviously works real well for David Goggins. And I think it was very profound for Jesse Itzler as well. The monks, he has to go and live at or he chooses to go and live in a monastery.
Wow.
For a month or 3 months or whatever, a short time, but it's very different. It's as challenging for him, but different. And one of the things that he comes away with, and I think a lot of people our age kind of come away with this, is that there's no reason that he needs to be doing anything that he doesn't want to do. And he develops a very different relationship with time there. And one of the ways that he does is he starts thinking, okay, well, the example that he gave was, my parents are, 80. And so if we're lucky, they've got 20 years left. Most of those years aren't going to be really great. So let's just say it's 15 years left. So I've got 15 years with my parents. And then he's like, no, I don't have 15 years with my parents. I go see them 1 week a year. So I have 15 weeks
15
with
trips.
my parents.
Yes.
And in that week, there's probably 2 or 3 days where we don't really do anything. And so now it's like 12, now he breaks it down into days. And he's like, you're telling me that I've only got this many days with my parents? So he books a flight to go see his parents and decides that, that's not how he wants to spend the rest of his life, that he's 50 and maybe at best he's got another 50 years. And so he's not going to do things like you're talking about, needless, meaningless business meetings. Somebody wants to come and pitch you an idea. It's like, no, not doing it. My time, I only have so much time, and I'm going to spend that with my parents, with my children, with doing something with my friends like you guys, in a way that I want to do it.
What a great perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was
awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That was the best part of the whole book. But it was basically the underlying theme of the whole book, that he developed this different relationship with time, and that he realized, I think a lot of people could take that and go down with it, like, oh, I'm 50. Oh man, I've only got, 20 years left if I'm lucky. And he's like, no, I've only got 20 years left if I'm lucky. And 10 of those, I'm going to be in really awesome shape. So if I want to go climb mountains, now's the time. Next weekend is the time. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm actually going to go do this. And I'm going to do it with these people that I want to do it with. And I'm going to do it on my terms. And I'm going to make sure that I am enjoying this process, much to what you're talking about. And that can be, it doesn't have to be all for you and all selfish thing. Just as you are talking about, he makes mention of, I want to provide for the community. And when I do these things, I really want to do them. I don't want to be forced into going to some sort of benefit for something that I don't truly believe in.
Kind of guilted into going to something. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a different perspective.
I like it. You should read that book. It's really good.
Now, what is it again? I'm sorry.
Living with Monks.
Living with Monks. Okay.
Jesse Itzler. And you'll burn right through it. It's a very good book.
Okay, so one more thing. I want to try this initiative, I call it. I call it the work from home initiative, where one day a week, maybe Friday. So this is kind of in the planning stages. So I'm open to any criticism or suggestions, but I don't want to go into the office at all.
On one day.
On one day, I want to either end my week, begin my week, probably Friday though. I mean, that's probably making the most sense. I mean, in our town, people leave at 12 o'clock on Friday and they're banished into the mist anyway. So I'm thinking maybe Fridays I just don't go into the office. I may still go to appointments. I may still see people. I may still make sales calls. I may still do recruiting, interviews, whatever. I just don't physically go into the office. I change my scenery at least one day a week. That doesn't sound radical, but when I think about it, it makes me kind of tense up a little bit. Like,
well, what if you did it like this, like a stair step approach? And this is one of the things that I watched this happen for one of my clients. And when I was fishing with this guy, he was a surgeon, and he told me one time he came down to Key West and we're fishing, and he says, yeah, I'm down here for 3 days this year. And each year I'm going to add a day. So the next year he was down for 4 days. The next year he came down for 5 days. The next day he came down for 6 days. The next year he came down for 7. Well, over 20 years, he's spending a month in the Keys almost, right? And so I didn't really think that was, I was like, dude, you're one of the best surgeons in the world. If you want to spend, 20 days in the Keys, why don't you just do it? Well, it's not that easy, right? But it is easy to add 1 day a year,
incrementally,
right?
Increase.
Incrementally. So for your goal, what if you did on Friday, you're going to spend a half a day in the office, and then every week you're going to spend a half a day plus an hour, a half a day plus 2 hours, a half a day plus 3 hours out of the office, a half a day plus 4 hours out of the office, or you're only going to go in at first for an hour. Or you're going to be there for, I guess I'm doing it wrong, backwards. You're going to be there instead of 8 hours, you're going to start with 7 hours. So you're just going to take 1 hour, you're going to cut out an hour early. And then the next week, you're going to cut out 2 hours early, and then cut out 3 hours early, then cut out 4 hours early, which you're not necessarily cutting out, or maybe it's coming in an hour earlier or hour later. You're just choosing to work in a different way, which I think, here, Builder moves around all the time. He moves his desk like all the time. And cool. He's a big believer in just doing something fresh. Mm-hmm. Like go work at a coffee shop for a couple hours. Go, I don't know, do something different. I think doing something different and keeping things fresh is hugely important. Yeah. But if you did it incrementally,
more sustainable.
Yeah.
On the incremental side.
I'm going to try and figure this out.
That's a great idea, though. What's the worst that can happen? You just go back to what you were doing, I guess. Worst thing that could happen is that he comes to one of these meetings and we tell him that he failed and he needs to not go to the office on Friday. That's tough.
The accountability.
Yeah.
So I made the goal 2 years ago to see a movie. You guys were involved. Remember this?
I know.
In 2017, I was going to see 5 movies in 2017 during working hours.
At the theater.
I told you guys that, and you were like, yeah, at the theater during working hours. And you guys were like, we're in. And we actually saw the first movie of my first movie of that year together.
Yes.
I said I was in for one.
Yeah.
Not for all 5.
That's right.
Yeah,
but you went to the movie.
I'm going to help you.
Yeah.
See, what would have been better is if you had said, okay, you're first, you're second, you're third, you're fourth, and you're fifth. And then you would have had a partner for each one.
And you would think that would be such an easy goal. But you talk about the incremental thing. I saw the 5th movie on December 29th, 2017. It was the last working day possible.
See, that's why I have you guys at this table, because that's a very simple goal. That is a goal for you that you want to do. But here's the difference. You accomplished that goal, and you did it on December 29th at the 11th hour.
Yes.
How easy would it have been to go, you know what, that's a stupid goal anyway, and it's not even a big deal. I proved I could do it, and here's 2 hours I could go.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't. You went and you followed through on it. And what that means to anyone, so what? He went to see a movie, big deal. No, it's that you set a goal and that you actually accomplished it. It doesn't matter what the goal is, in my mind, because if you can do that, you could set a goal for anything and accomplish it.
That's true.
I don't know. It's funny because like when I thought about who would I get to sit down here and discuss goals and how to accomplish them and whether people or whether we should do New Year's resolutions, or do you call it a New Year's resolution, or is it really more of a goal? And does it really matter if you do it on January 1st, or is this something that you should just bring into your life all the time? You guys are the ones that I thought of right away. Because Matt, for his an attempt at the complaining challenge,
was it? Did we talk about that on the podcast?
Not yet?
Okay,
no. Yeah, that was something. It took me about 6 months to actually achieve that 30 days, no complaining. And so anytime that
who did you let in on it? Who did you tell?
My wife knew about it. Tom knew about it. I think most of my coworkers and stuff knew about it. So my parents knew about it. So, but just and I held myself accountable because, I heard about it and I thought, sure, that can't be that hard, really. I mean, no complaining for 30 days. And it was very hard.
So what's the definition of complaining? If you go outside and you go, ooh, it's cold out here. Is that complaining?
Anything negative. Anything in a negative context.
So you could go outside and you could go,
wow,
it's cold. I love cold weather.
Yeah, if it is cold, say, hey, it's cold outside. This is great. But not in a complaining manner like, oh, it's cold. I'm so cold.
What if you went outside and you said, it's cold outside?
This sucks.
This is great.
Hey, that's great. Hey, I'm good with that.
So how much
okay?
So it was more about the physical act of complaining, not you're BSing yourself on some of the stuff,
right? It was
right?
more about the mental, about being more aware of what I'm saying. That was the big challenge as far as what I'm pushing out. So the test
is actually what comes out of your mouth.
Being cautious on what you're pushing out. You may have it here, but don't speak it. That's the big thing.
The importance of language. I mean, that's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I just wouldn't say it. It may cross my mind, but I'm not going to speak it into existence in a sense. So
that's super important because
it was
of the other shirt that I almost wore today,
too.
Which is my other second favorite shirt, is the one that says "Attitude is contagious." And so when you speak it, when you complain, it's one thing if you're complaining by yourself. When you're complaining around other people, you're just bringing everybody down, man.
Who wants to hang out or be around people that complain and make excuses?
Yeah,
no one.
Complainers.
Yeah. No one. I mean, it's horrible.
But seriously,
You're
though,
right.
complainers. What is it with people that come up to? Oh man, I was just in this awful traffic jam, and it took me so long to get here. I don't understand what's wrong with people. They drive like crazy. I mean, can you believe it? The town has just gotten built up so much here, and gas. I mean, I needed gas too, and it's just so expensive now that that person thinks that they're making conversation with you, but they have just shot you with this giant stream of negativity.
Yeah.
You're just like, damn, dude.
And so, Tom, Kyle, by doing that challenge for 30 days, you're so much more aware of that type of, as someone saying that, I was super alert to that. So I actually trying to move out of those conversations.
Yeah.
Because of that negativity and stuff. So
my wife started saying,
maybe stay away from that.
She'll say, hey, do you think my exercise is working? I'll say, man, baby, you look great. You look great. I mean, your body's changing for the better. Blah, blah. You don't think I look fat? And I've begun saying, we don't say fat. We don't do fat talk. And she's like, I know, but do I look? And I say, no, we don't do fat talk. And I'm trying to get into that.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to eliminate all fat talk and complaining. See, I like having goals that are positive. And like I'll write my goals down. If there's anything that says, don't do this, I have to reframe it so it's a positive.
Well, and again,
thing.
I wasn't sticking my head in the sand and ignoring negative outcomes or negative events. I think that's unrealistic. I just chose not to complain. Not to be negative about that.
Yeah.
And to your point, trying to say it in be more positive, deliberate. I guess, again, just trying to be way more deliberate in my positivity.
I bet there were times you found yourself literally biting your own tongue just to keep from saying things.
But it made me think of other ways to come about or have a conversation and stuff, which was also very positive. So
that's like when we talk about can't. As soon as you say can't, you shut yourself off from the opportunity that you can. And as soon as you complain, you shut yourself off from the opportunity that you could make this a positive, that this challenge that you see could possibly be an opportunity rather than a challenge.
It's going back to Ron Holiday's book.
So easy to do.
Absolutely. It's a bad habit. His book, Obstacle is the Way. That's
great book.
Super, super book. And as opposed to complaining about those things, trying to view those as opportunities. Not saying they didn't exist, they don't exist, things happen. I get all that. I'm not, again, head in the sand, ignoring that and skipping around saying everything is perfect. I'm not stating that at all. It's the way I choose to react to those things or respond to those things.
What did it look like when you actually couldn't hold your tongue anymore, and you say the thing that makes you start over.
A new day count.
I mean, but what brings you to that level?
You'd go on a 30-minute tirade.
That's right. I feel, okay, I'm good. All right, back at it now. Yeah, I mean, it just different things.
So you're going for like 15 days, and then what makes you just break and complain?
Just lack of mindfulness, lack of just caught up in the moment, just not really being aware of what I'm doing.
I need to do
it's hard.
I need to start with a week.
It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Gosh, and I'm so positive.
Yeah,
I just still think it would be.
It's the small things about, well, it'll be traffic or weather or whatever, or someone saying something, and then I respond or react to it without thinking. That's the big thing.
So you have to be mindful.
God, you have to, and slow it down. Slow it down. I am way too quick to react on a lot of things. I mean, just boom, as opposed to let's slow this down. Let's have a pause in here, and then let's respond to it.
See why he's so challenging?
No, it was tough. It was tough. It was really, really tough. It was awful. So I've heard of those 10-day silent camps.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
I'd like to do it, but I think that would be very challenging. 10 days, you can't say anything.
Well,
Kyle?
I think that despite my job as a professional television host and podcaster, my comfort zone is not saying anything at all. I'm way out of my comfort zone by talking all the time. And I am perfectly happy not saying anything for 10 days. That would be maybe my favorite vacation I've ever taken. However,
unbelievable.
However, I do believe that it would be far more challenging than you thought. Like the one time that you thought of something really good and you couldn't say it.
And you're sitting with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mentally, you're just sitting with yourself. And I mean, that's just,
I think it'd be a great experience though. I think that that would take some people way out of their comfort zone. Just like it would probably take some people so far out of their comfort zone that it would be comparable to other people doing public speaking.
No doubt.
That shuts people down to think about getting up in front of people and talking. That is, I mean, some people fear it more than death.
Yeah.
Some people would think that if they had to be quiet for more than a day, they would probably fear that more than death. I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't really mind either one. I'm perfectly comfortable not saying anything at all.
10 days. 10 days.
For 10 days, no problem. Sometimes I would have the customer that would get on the boat and he would just say, listen, man, I talk to people all day long, the whole time. And I really don't want to say anything unnecessary on this trip. And we've been fishing together for a long time, but I really enjoy those long 2-3 hours of silence. You point a fish out to me when it's out there. Other than that, no problem, sir.
Wow.
We got along great. I know exactly where you're coming from.
Chowderhead that just won't shut up.
Yeah. That was awesome. So you ask about goals and uncomfortable things, and like you're talking about challenge. I have been trying to incorporate no phone when I'm talking to someone. Sounds easier than you think.
No, it's...
But in
you
this
mean like
world,
in a meeting or just face-to-face talking, or what type of...
I'm mostly talking about when I'm around my family is number one. So what I've been trying to do is come in. We have a place that we charge the phones. It's like in a little closet area. You plug it in, you close the door, and that's where the phones sleep at night. That's where they live, when they're charging. And so I come in and I've been putting that in there and then trying to be 100% present when I am talking with my wife or my family. And I would like to see that extend into any face-to-face relationship. And honestly, this is my favorite part about the podcast. We've been sitting here for an hour and 19 minutes talking. Not one person's picked up their phone. Not one person has reacted in any way to, I just got a text, looked at it. It's a face-to-face, eye-to-eye conversation that we're having right now. That's not happening very often in my life.
Oh, it does. No. And I will say I'm as guilty as anyone else, especially at home with the kids. And it's a horrible example. Megan and I talk about it quite a bit, that we're setting for them when they see us, but yet it's kind of do as I say, not as I do. But it's awful. I'm not, and we are trying to take steps to improve that. I like the idea of putting them up, but the kids see us do this.
Then they do,
or this, or whatever you want to do. But looking at that screen time, and then how can we say something when they're sitting there doing this on an iPad or something, and it's like no one's talking.
Well, the worst thing is even worse than that, when they're telling you something and you just have a quick little, somebody's waiting on you. Like in our situation, somebody is waiting on me to look at something and say yes or no, like on an edit for a TV show. Is this okay? Mm-hmm. Or not. And all I need to do is just look at it and say yes or say no, and then put it away.
Yep.
But my son's sitting there going, "Hey, Dad, do you know what we did today?" Well, and I'm like, yeah, But I'm looking at my phone. That is a message that is received loud and clear by your children of, that's way more important than me.
Mm-hmm. What do you do when someone's doing that to you? Do you stop talking?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, like
not to be a jerk.
In this world, like if it was you and Matt and we're having a conversation like we're having right now, I'd be like, dude, come on, man. Our time's all valuable and we've set aside this time for this. If you're not into it, then, maybe today's not a good day for this. But we also share a lot of things, with a group like this. But, at work and things like that, when, everything that we're doing is social media and this and that, and looking at how many people are looking at whatever and trying to, it's necessary for a certain part of the day. But my focus is it necessary for the rest of the day? And
your family being the core.
Well, the family's the most important part. But what has to happen is that the time at work has to become more efficient, because if I'm going to, I work, from 5 a.m. until I fall asleep at night, which is usually around 10. And that whole time is working of some sort. I'm thinking about something. I'm writing emails. I'm writing texts. I'm communicating with people. I am waiting for somebody to communicate with me. I'm writing. I'm watching. I'm doing something. Everything that I do all day long, every day, is working.
Mm-hmm.
And then the balance is, how does that work when your family's there? Like on the one hand, what I do offers a tremendous amount of freedom. I can go see a football game, or I'd never missed a wrestling match, or, whatever, because I can have that phone in my pocket. And if somebody needs me to say yes or no, I can do that anywhere in the world.
It's a balance.
So yes, that is a great benefit. I do not have to be strapped to a desk. I can easily be out on the water. I can easily be at my daughter's cheerleading thing or lacrosse game or whatever. But I might have to answer the phone every now and then. But how does that translate into everyday life, and does it become a habit? Does it become, like what I've noticed is it's become a habit that is a weakness?
I agree with that. And it's easy to pick up that phone. It becomes a habit where, I'm speaking for myself, where it becomes a habit where if I'm not doing anything, sometimes I catch myself just picking my phone up. That's horrible. And I'm aware of that. And I'm like, I just picked this up because I was bored for no reason, out of just habit. I'll sometimes pick it up. I know you guys don't do this, but I'll pick it up and I'll just open the phone, the interface, and scroll, and then close it right back and put it down. Like, what did I just do? Why did I do that? Maybe y'all don't do that.
No.
Do I need help?
No, you did exactly what we do, except I hit Instagram and then spend an hour looking at that. Which could easily be work. Like, it is work. I do make a living like that.
Is it productive though? Is it always
it's
productive?
Hardly unproductive.
I know. That's my point.
It's the most unproductive, but there is certain time that needs to be spent there for my business.
And then I'm wondering how much time am I wasting in my life just looking at that screen?
Well, have you seen the screen time thing?
Yes.
It's on here.
I just got mine yesterday on the phone, and I told Megan, my wife, I was like, Megan, it says that I average 2 hours, a bit over 2 hours a day on screen time. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I feel like it's bad.
I was an hour and 15 minutes.
That's great.
You don't even know what I was.
I feel like I'm looking too long.
I know, but you've got a content-driven,
of
high
course.
content-driven business, and so
That's true. But there's significant amounts of time on there that doesn't need to be spent.
Oh, I would say half mine's wasted time just out of habit and just wasted. But
I don't look at the amount of time, because yes, you're exactly right. That is how the business is run, and so from the time that I am working until the time that I am not working and I'm around my family, I don't care how much time the screen time thing says.
Yeah.
What I care about is how much time am I spending without it face to face with the people that I love the most. And honestly, you ask about, do you have any really big goals that are going to really change everything in your life? That's it. If I wanted to change one thing in my life right now that would make the biggest difference in every relationship, in every thing that is the most important, it would be to come in the door and put the phone in the closet, charge it, and don't touch it again.
So you guys probably don't have this, but there are times when Megan and I are both doing this on our phones.
And
I'll look over and I'm like, is this healthy?
No, don't have it.
You should send her a text while you're doing that.
I have.
Have you really?
I have. Like, hello. I have done that. Yeah, and I'm like, this is not good. And she knows that. She knows it, and but it's a habit.
I know
it's a bad habit, and I don't. Anyway,
but it's a habit also that everyone is sucked into in this day and age. The phone has. I don't know. The phone has become so important, and we are simply a half a step away from technology being completely wearable or inside of our bodies.
No doubt.
Contact lens that is everything that your phone is doing. So can you imagine just looking at somebody like we are right now, face to face, eye to eye, but you're really doing all kinds of other things like sending emails and looking at Instagram.
Well, the book
while
Abundance,
you just pretend like you're looking at somebody.
Yeah, the book Abundance has that. It talks about the technology that's out there right now. It's on 60 Minutes 6 months ago or so, where you could think something mentally and it would pull it up through a search engine.
And it'll show it on a contact lens.
Yes.
Did the Google glasses not take off?
I don't think they took off because they were dorky looking. But I'm telling you,
we're on the cusp.
We are so close to having it happen. And I just think that it's one of the scariest things as far as interpersonal relationships.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the scariest things.
Do you think face-to-face communication will be a premium if it's not already today, but as far as interacting?
I think it's
face-to-face.
All you got to do is look at how texting has changed your phone habits. Would you rather text someone or call them? Right?
Text.
Most people are going to say text. It's easier, but texting is very impersonal.
Absolutely.
And I am number one on the list of people that abuse it for that reason. Like I told you, I'd rather not talk to anybody ever. Okay. So I'll text with anyone.
Do you talk text or do you tap it in?
Oh, I tap it in.
Yeah, same here.
Because you've sent some long stuff before.
Yeah, I know, but that's because I have text hooked up to my computer. And so I can just fire it away. If I text you on the computer and it's like a triple paragraph, then I'm on the computer. If it's on the phone and I'm fishing, it's like, hey, what do you think about meeting next week? No. I think he might be fishing.
That's a good goal, though, Tom, to minimize the screen time with family.
That's where I am.
I like that. That's
you'd have to say it positive though. Maximize face to face.
There you are. Look at you, man.
I want that less screen time going forward in the night.
Be 100% present in all my interactions with my family.
Well, that's a challenge. I mean,
and I think
for everyone that's a challenge.
A way to quantify it is I'm not going to be on the phone while I'm talking to people.
Right, but it's not a challenge. If it's a challenge, if you got this thing in your lap like that and it's going off all the time, it's not a challenge. If it's gone or off, then you find yourself going right back to your regular habits of face-to-face, eye-to-eye. Why are we sitting in here? It's boring. Like, let's go for a walk. Let's go do something. Let's go fishing. Let's go do something.
What are you really going to miss by putting your phone up for 4 hours or so that's going to be so bad?
It could be significant in my line of work. It could be very significant.
From 8 o'clock at night.
You could have an editor who is trying to make a network deadline to submit a show.
Okay.
And he could have a question of whether or not a sponsor's billboard is correct or up to date or whatever. And they absolutely have to have an answer before they can turn that in. And until you answer them, that show is sitting stagnant, still. And so is the next one that they should be working on.
Gotcha.
And so that can cause a massive traffic jam in the edit bay. And all they need is you to just say yes or no. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And so there's massive responsibility there to answer the phone on occasion. But it's just like anything else. If the phones had an automatic shutoff around the world at 7 o'clock and this thing didn't work anywhere after 7 o'clock, do you think that we'd be able to figure it out and everyone would be able to go about business as usual and you would just know, wow, it's getting close to 7. I better send that text to see if this is okay or not. Boom. Okay, good. It is. Done. Phone's off. So I don't know. I think that if that's the case, you can't just go on full on blackout. You have to, like what I'm going to have to do is just say to the people that I talk to, my editors, the people who might be texting me at those times of the day, that's involving work, is that, okay, look, I'm going dark after 5. So whatever we need to do before 5. And then you can get me again at 4:30 in the morning. But between 5 and 4:30 in the morning.
Well, going back to your time, like what you're talking about, I mean, I do know people, and I'm sure you guys do too, that say, okay, I'm going to answer emails once a day. After 6 o'clock, you've sent me an email. I'm going to get back to you after 6 o'clock p.m. I'll answer emails between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. every day.
It's like a time block.
Yeah, but during the day, there's no responses.
Those dudes are
who are those
rich, and they got a lot of people working for them because
they have people answering their emails.
There's no possibility that I can answer emails one time a day.
Think about if you had a driver. Think about if your next employee was a driver, and you stayed in contact with people you need to stay in contact with during these hours, or you time blocked your drive time to answer that, and you were completely productive and you had time to shut down.
So you're essentially using Uber.
You could, and that could be incredibly valuable. I had an attorney that fished with me for a long time, and he had a driver, and that's what he said. He was also one of the first people I ever knew that had a cell phone. And then my dad, who was the first person I knew that had a cell phone was my dad.
Really?
Who is not into technology now. Yeah, he had a suitcase. Yeah. Well, he didn't even have the suitcase. He had the one that was mounted in the car.
That's right.
But he was an insurance salesman, and he spent a tremendous amount of time in the car going to see people. Mm-hmm. And it just clicked with him right away. Like, if I had a phone in the car, think about it. I could be making all the calls. I could be even setting up meetings on the way to drive out there.
Yeah.
And then, but it would always start with, hey, guess where I'm calling you? From the car.
My dad had this portable, it was like a suitcase. It had a handle. He spent like $2,000.
Crazy.
The only reason he had it is because he would take calls. He was a doctor and he'd take calls, and he wanted to play golf on Saturday. And so this thing would ring like a house phone in the back of the golf cart.
Yeah.
And he'd reach back there and it had a cord, and everything. And so
That's where I'm calling you. From number 17.
From the golf course. And he would take call, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But we plan. Yeah.
See,
freed him up.
that's what's happened, though, is that at that point, being able to afford that technology afforded you freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You could do anything and you could be away from the office. Now, I feel like it's gone from being freedom to handcuffs.
Yep.
Now you're handcuffed
Bondage
to the one thing that once offered you freedom.
And that's the discipline aspect on it from us, as far as being able to step up and, if we can, minimize that where we need to. Right?
Well, it's the mindset.
Yeah.
Man. It's mindfulness.
It's easier easiness makes you weak in a sense, but it's easier not to do it and just have it dominate your life. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, I have got to set some boundaries with my, it's just not a good example for the kids.
It's not.
And relationships in general. But, I've got to become more disciplined and aware of, and I'm as guilty as anyone. I'm awful at it.
I'm probably the worst. So that's where I have the most improvement. So I set myself up for success by picking what I'm the worst at and having 1% improvement per day. So it's easy to get 50% better at not talking on the phone. Anyway, well, this was awesome, guys. And as always, I truly appreciate both of you being part of my circle that holds me accountable and that I can share things that, you don't share with everybody. Things that seem really crazy, things that seem impossible. If you surround yourself with a group of people like I have with Matt and Kyle and many others, you can make the most profound changes in your life or keep yourself exactly on track to living the best life that you could possibly live. And I really do believe that having positive people around you, is the most important. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So pick those people carefully, and hopefully you are as lucky as I am and find some people like Matt and Kyle. So thanks a lot for sitting down and talking about this. I hope it's been as productive for you as it was for me.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll see you guys.